It's finally here! The long-awaited retelling of the most batshit crazy vigilante in anti-cinema history. Let's go back to St. Romaville for bloody gore galore goodness, parody humour, and all the potty mouth that's going to need a dump truck full of Tyler Durden's homebrew soap to wash out everyone's mouth. Strap yourself in for the ooze-infested, fever neon bukkake party nightmare. The Toxic Avenger. Hello there, you loose units, and welcome back to another episode of Spicy Boy Reviews. I'm, of course, your host, Andrew Iles. That's right, finally here, The Toxic Avenger, directed by Mason Blair. Known for directing I Don't Feel Home in This World Anymore, and an episode of Room 104. We meet single stepdad loser Winston. He's a janitor at a huge, corrupt pharmaceutical company by the name of BTH that dumps toxic waste in the environment and causes terminal illness in the community. So, a pharmaceutical company. The company is ran by slimy businessman Bob Garbinger, with a Karen haircut and all. Winston is struggling day to day to make ends meet with his stepson, Wade. Unfortunately, Winston and Wade live in St. Romaville, an apocalyptic city that's got a grime of filth over the top of it, crawling with criminal activity, and the streets are run rampant with psychopaths, which is a cross between the gang members from the Warriors and the mutants from Mad Max. Turns out that years and years of working for BTH has left Winston with a terminal illness. And unfortunately, the insurance company that Winston is with has found a loophole to back out with covering his medical expenses. So, an insurance company. Somebody call Luigi! Winston decides to take matters into his own hands and decides to confront Bob Garbinger himself, which of course can only go well. Fair to say that Bob is unwilling to help Winston and humiliates him. But Winston's having none of it! He nuts up and decides to rob BTH to cover his medical costs. However, upon his low-tech heist plan, he literally bumps into investigative reporter Doherty, who's out to uncover all the shady shit by BTH. It's wrong place, wrong time scenario, as Winston is caught in the crossfire and runs into an assassination gang on the tail of Doherty that looks like a cross between the Insane Clown Posse and Slipknot. They decide to dump Winston into a vat of chemical waste, which of course can only go well. This is when the Toxic Avenger is born, and Peter Dinklage now sits in a sound booth while another physical actor steps in. Pushed to the edge, the Toxic Avenger then decides to nuts up and takes on all the criminal activity in St. Romaville. And he's taking out the trash. Simultaneously, he decides to team up with Doherty and take down BTH. I was really curious when this film was announced of how modern cinema is going to tackle a Troma film. Troma is the anti-cinema and loves to push the boundaries of regular audience members. And I've got to say, with this film, they did a decent job. Everything on screen looks fantastic with the perfect balance of super dark and bright colours. And I've got to say, the film is heavily structured like a superhero film from the early to mid-2000s, where the first half of the film is establishing the world and the characters, and the second half is where all the over-the-top gory galore action happens. I will say, though, that the second half of the film had a lot packed into it and runs at a breakneck pace. And the timing of release of this film is absolutely perfect, as it is somewhat of a parody of a superhero film. Because as we know, that genre at the moment is very tiresome. Simultaneously, the film pokes fun at that genre, while also using that style of humour that we've come accustomed to. And at times, the jokes did feel heavily inspired by Deadpool. But if the box office is anything to go by, that's only going to help this movie. And I'll admit, at first glance, I wasn't sure if Peter Dinklage was the right casting for this movie. However, as the film played out, it started sinking in what they were doing, as it is very left-of-centre casting for this type of character, and in itself came across as very Troma. And it was admitted that Peter Dinklage wasn't the actor under the prosthetics, but actor Luis Guerrero. My first reaction of this news was, really? What, too good to sit in a makeup effects chair? That's very Jennifer Lawrence of you. But then I remembered the original Toxic Avenger movie. Melvin was played by a scrawny guy. And when he transforms into the Toxic Avenger, they used actor Mitch Cohen, who, of course, was physically larger. However, Luis Guerrero is only slightly taller than Peter Dinklage. Kevin Bacon, being horror alumni, doesn't shy away from playing these slimy arsehole movie characters, and I'm all for it. And here in this movie, he's eating up the scenery like it's Hubba Bubba Bubblegum. And it could be argued that he's playing a very similar character that he played as the bad guy in James Gunn's Super, which James Gunn came from the Troma world. I had a blast with this film, honestly. As most of you probably already know, this film was done, completed, and ready to go back in 2023. However, it was delayed because it was struggling to find distribution for the film. Because as we know, Hollywood is filled with corporate soulless pussies. But thankfully, companies like Iconic Events and Signature Entertainment jumped on board, and thankfully it saw the light of day. It's a nice little installment in the Toxic Avenger universe, and it is worth a watch. And it's way more digestible to regular audiences than the 1984 original. However, hopefully this film inspires for people to go back and look at the original films. Which, of course, I did a cheeky review of the original film way back when. Yeah, I had a good time with this film, not gonna lie. I reckon it is definitely worth a watch. A superhero parody that's over-the-top gore galore goodness. So guys, that's my cheeky little review of Toxic Avenger. Write down below if you've seen it, what are your thoughts on it, but more importantly, what is your favourite Troma film? And of course, if you've made it this far into the episode, please give me a thumbs up, because your love and support keeps me going, because I just love movies, and I assume you do as well. And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe icon, because I give it an episode weekly. And I'll see you back here next week for the next review, but until then, stay spooky, kids.